You know what's wild? Most people think the Book of Revelation is a final word on what happens at the end of everything. The seals, the trumpets, the beast, the lake of fire. And yeah, Revelation is incredible. But there is another account of the final judgment, one that's older, that goes deeper, and that fills in details Revelation never touches. Details that will genuinely make you stop and go, wait, what? And that book is Enoch. I'm going to show you exactly what Enoch reveals about the final judgment that most people have never heard. And by the end of this video, you're going to see Revelation in a completely different light. Stay with me. This one is serious. Oh, and real quick, some of you have been watching this channel for months, quietly, like you're reading someone's diary and don't want to get caught. I see you, and I appreciate you, but the subscribe button is literally right there. It costs nothing, it takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm to keep showing you this kind of content instead of whatever life hack video it was about to serve you. Just saying. Okay, let's get into it. Before we can talk about what Enoch says about the final judgment, you need to understand who's talking, because this isn't just some random ancient text somebody wrote in their basement. Enoch, the man, is described in Genesis as someone who walked with God. That's a phrase that only gets used for 2 people in all of Scripture, Enoch and Noah. And unlike everyone else in that genealogy list that just says he lived, he had sons, he died, Enoch's story ends differently. He doesn't die. God just takes him. So the Book of Enoch claims to be the writings and visions of that guy, the man who walked so closely with God that death didn't even apply to him. And in those writings, Enoch is taken on what can only be described as a tour of the cosmos. He sees the storehouses of wind, the foundations of the earth, the place where the stars are kept, the prison where fallen angels are held. And then he's shown the final judgment, not as a prophecy told from a distance, as a front row seat. And what he sees is not what most people expect. Here's the first thing Enoch shows us that Revelation handles differently. In Revelation, the final judgment scene is majestic and cosmic. You've got the great white throne, you've got books being opened, you've got the dead standing before God. It's enormous, it's sweeping, it's the grand finale of all of history. But Enoch zooms in on the judge. And the title Enoch keeps using for the one who carries out this judgment is not just God or the Lord. It's a specific title that Enoch uses over and over again, the Son of Man. Now, before you say, okay, that's just Jesus, hang on, because Enoch's description of the Son of Man as judge goes into a level of detail that is almost uncomfortable in how specific it is. Enoch writes that this Son of Man was chosen and hidden before the creation of the world, that before the sun and stars were made, before the mountains were shaped, this figure existed and was concealed, hidden in God. And at the final judgment, he is revealed, not created, not appointed in the moment, revealed, like something that was always there but no one was allowed to see yet. And when the kings of the earth, the rulers, the mighty, when they see him, Enoch says their reaction is not just fear, it is shame, a deep, crushing shame, because they recognize in that moment exactly who he is and exactly what they did. Revelation shows you the throne. Enoch shows you the moment of recognition. That's a very different emotional experience. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Revelation talks about angels carrying out judgment, pouring out bowls, swinging sickles, sounding trumpets. The imagery is powerful, but Revelation doesn't really sit down and introduce the actual agents of punishment as individuals. Enoch does. Enoch is shown 4 specific figures, and they each have a job description for the final judgment that is detailed enough to make you uncomfortable. The first is Uriel. His role in judgment, he presides over the punishment of those who rejected the light while living in it, specifically the ones who knew, who had access to truth, and chose against it anyway. Uriel doesn't punish the ignorant, he handles the willfully blind. Think about that for a second. The second is Raphael. In the judgment context, Raphael is described as the one who binds a specific group, the Watchers, the fallen ones, and throws them into the darkness. And Enoch describes this in horrifying detail, not a vague cast into the pit. Enoch watches it happen, he sees the place, he describes the geography of punishment, and it is not pleasant reading. The third is Gabriel. Gabriel's role in the final judgment is directed at the powerful, the ones who corrupted the earth through their authority. Rulers, leaders, the ones who had power over others and used it to destroy. Gabriel, according to Enoch, is specifically assigned to them. And the fourth is Michael. Michael in the judgment scene is the defender of the righteous, not the attacker of the wicked, but the guardian of those who belong to God in the chaos of that final moment. Now, Revelation mentions Michael, but this division of labor, this organizational structure of angelic judgment roles, that's Enoch. All right, I need you to stay with me on this section because this is the part that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. One of the most significant things Enoch reveals about the final judgment is something Revelation gives us only a glimpse of: the judgment of the Watchers. You might know them from Genesis 6, the sons of God who came to earth, corrupted humanity, and produced the Nephilim. Revelation references a binding, a prison, something locked away for judgment. But Revelation doesn't explain the backstory. It doesn't give you the sentencing, and it doesn't show you the courtroom. Enoch is the courtroom. Enoch is taken, literally taken to the place where these fallen angels are being held pending their final judgment, like a pre-trial holding cell. And they are aware, they are conscious, they know what is coming. And here's the detail that hits different. They ask Enoch to write a petition on their behalf. These supernatural, powerful beings who left heaven, corrupted the earth, caused the flood. They ask a human being to write a mercy petition to God for them. And Enoch does it. He writes it. He presents it. He falls asleep while waiting for God's response. And God's response is no. Not just no, but Enoch is told to go back and tell them personally why their petition has been denied. And the reason God gives is devastating in its logic. You were spiritual beings who interceded for humans. No one intercedes for you. There is no one above you to appeal to. They were the intercessors. They have no intercessor. Revelation gives you the final destination. Enoch gives you the trial. Okay, I don't want this to just be a tour of punishment, because Enoch's vision of the final judgment isn't only dark. There is a flip side, and it is gorgeous. Revelation tells us about the New Jerusalem, streets of gold, gates of pearl, no more tears, no more death. And that imagery is stunning, but it's largely architectural. It describes a place. Enoch describes a transformation. In the sections of Enoch dealing with the final reward of the righteous, he talks about what happens to those who are vindicated in judgment, and his language is almost shocking in how personal it is. He says they will be clothed in garments of glory, not metaphorical glory. Enoch describes it as something that physically changes the appearance of the righteous, that they will shine, that they will become something that right now doesn't have a word for it. He talks about them eating with the Son of Man, sitting, resting, not in a everybody gets a mansion way, but in a deeply intimate way, like the closeness they were always supposed to have with God, finally restored without interference. And here's the detail I love most. Enoch talks about the righteous being shown the secrets of the universe after judgment. All those things humans spent their lives wondering, the movements of the stars, the reasons behind suffering, the whys behind history. Enoch says it will all be open to them, like the final act of a mystery where every thread gets resolved. Revelation says there will be no more crying. Enoch tells you why there won't be, because every question will finally have an answer. In Revelation, one of the most striking images of the final judgment is the opening of the books, the dead are judged by what is written in the books. And then there's the Book of Life. It's iconic, it's haunting. But Enoch expands on what those books actually contain. In Enoch's vision, he's shown that everything, and I mean everything, is being recorded, not just actions, thoughts, intentions, the things you almost did, the kindness you wanted to show but held back, the cruelty you chose, the mercy you extended when no one was watching. But here's a part that stands out. Enoch talks about a record being kept specifically of the oppressed, of every person who cried out and wasn't heard by other humans, every person who was wronged in secret, every injustice that was buried, forgotten, or covered up by the powerful. Enoch says those cries went somewhere. They were recorded, every single one. And at the judgment, those records come back. The oppressor stands there, and the full account is read. Not just what they did, but what their victim experienced, what it cost the person they harmed. Revelation tells you the books exist. Enoch tells you what's in them. One more area where Enoch fills in a gap, Revelation leaves open. Revelation gives us a sequence: seals, trumpets, bowls, the beast, the millennium, the great white throne. It's a map, but it's a map that has generated centuries of debate because the ordering isn't always crystal clear. Enoch doesn't give you the same timeline, but he gives you something else. He tells you what the trigger is. According to Enoch, the judgment does not begin until the measure is full. He uses his image of the sins of the world filling up, like a container. And he says the angels are watching this filling process. And there's a point, a specific marked point at which the container is full. And then the wheels of judgment begin to turn. But there's more. Enoch also says the prayers of the righteous are in their own container, and those two, the full measure of sin and the accumulated weight of the prayers of God's people, are connected. The judgment doesn't just start because things got bad enough. It starts because God's people asked for it long enough. Revelation hints at this, the souls under the altar crying, "How long?" But Enoch frames it as a cosmic mechanism. The cry of the righteous is not just an emotional outburst. It is a force that moves the timeline of judgment forward. Your prayers, according to Enoch, are not bouncing off the ceiling. They are filling a bowl. Okay, let's bring this together. Revelation and Enoch are not in competition. They're not saying different things. They're doing different jobs. Revelation is the panorama. It zooms out. It shows you the whole sweep of the end of history in cosmic, cinematic, world-shaking scope. The imagery is overwhelming on purpose. It is meant to awe you. Enoch is the close-up. It walks you through the rooms. It introduces you to the characters. It shows you the faces. It fills in the emotional and procedural and deeply personal texture of what that judgment actually looks and feels like from the inside. You need both, because here's what Enoch ultimately does that changes how you read the final judgment. It makes it personal. It's not just a cosmic event happening to the world. It is an event where every individual thread of every individual human life gets its moment in front of the Son of Man, the forgotten person, the oppressed voice, the quiet faithfulness nobody noticed. All of it, seen, recorded, vindicated, or condemned. Revelation tells you the ending of the story. Enoch tells you that you are in the story, not as a number, not as a statistic in a final body count, as a person whose life mattered enough to be read aloud on the last day. That's what Enoch says about the final judgment that Revelation doesn't. And I want to be honest with you, we barely scratched the surface. Enoch goes deep on the place of the dead, on the structure of the heavens, on things that will make you want to read it with a notepad next to you. If you want that video, and I think you do, the only thing you need to do is make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notification turned on, because that video is coming. And look, if this video made you think, made you dig a little deeper, made you see Enoch and Revelation differently than you did 35 minutes ago, drop a comment. Tell me the part that hit you hardest. Was it the intercessors having no intercessor? The bowl filling with prayers? The books containing not just actions, but the cost those actions had on others? Tell me. I genuinely read every single one. Stay curious, stay hungry, and I'll see you in the next one.